Okay, our next presenter, Dr. Lindsay Chichester, who is our extension educator in Douglas County. And I'm going to ask her to just go ahead and take it away. So Lindsay, it's all yours.
All right, hello everyone. So we're working from the same room, so we're bouncing back and forth with microphones. But I'm Lindsay Chichester, and I'm going to talk to you about Youth for the Quality Care of Animals today in another program called Prepare to Respond. All right. There we go. Whoops. So some of you probably are familiar with this program, and some of you, this might be the first time you're learning about it, but Youth for the Quality Care of Animals, or YQCA, is a national program with peer-reviewed curriculum. It is a multi-species program, and it's a youth quality assurance program that serves the ages of 8 to 21. So it was important to go out to that young adult age, which covers our FFA youth as well. And it focuses in 3 core areas. Those are food safety, animal well-being, and character development. YQCA was ultimately developed because there was just a growing need for consistency across youth quality assurance programs, and also consumer trust identified by youth development and extension personnel, as well as our commodity groups. So the PQA Plus Youth was the first online program, and Nebraska Extension was the first ones to develop a multi-species age-appropriate program. So eventually all of these groups came together, and YQCA was founded in 2016, and then the program actually rolled out in spring of 2017. So there's a nonprofit, it's a nonprofit organization with a volunteer board of directors. And so in Nevada, I'm actually our state contact, and I also serve on the board of directors. There's an executive board of people across the entire country in different commodity groups. So it's a pretty fun little thing to work on. YQCA is accepted and required by many livestock shows and fairs. And if you didn't see it in the Nevada Junior Livestock Show rules, this is the program that they're going to start using on an annual basis for the youth quality assurance. I know there's other shows around the state that are also using it and around the country, but just in Nevada specifically, that was a big move to make this the required youth quality assurance program. So as I mentioned, YQCA, it pretty much covers any food or food producing animals. So beef cattle, dairy cattle, pigs, sheep, goats, rabbits, and poultry. And it is the youth quality assurance program equivalent recognized by NCBA, or their BQA program for the youth, and then National Pork Board, as I mentioned, and then also the American Sheep Industry and the Sheep Safety and Quality Assurance. So those 3 organizations do recognize YQCA as their youth equivalent program. Within how the function, or it's set up, is there can be state trainers. So around the state, numerous people can be a trainer to roll out the curriculum and work with youth. Right now, the only people that can do that are extension personnel, FFA advisors, or veterinarians. And this is a board decision. It's not something that I get to choose. That's what the YQCA board has decided. And then those trainers do have to recertify annually. The course can be completed in 2 ways. So online is $12 per youth. And right now, during some of our COVID restrictions, that's the only option and only way that youth can certify. The other option is face-to-face, and in a normal year, that would be $3 per youth, and then plus any fees that the local host would need to charge to cover supply costs or their mileage to get to a location or whatever that might look like. Youth also need to recertify annually, and it's a minimum of just 60 minutes of instruction a year. So that's usually what the content is. And then we do encourage any of those state trainers to also have some hands-on activity and have the youth practice some different skill sets. Something that's kind of interesting and that you might think about, or even if you're in a sponsor position, is there is a coupon. So you can provide coupons for a county, a certain group, and that just covers the cost of the course for those youth. and I just want to put out there, because this is a common question, the fees that the youth pay covers the cost of hosting a platform, curriculum development and maintenance, taxes, bookkeeping, a lawyer. So there's a lot of behind the scenes money. The program is not necessarily rich by any means. I wanted to put up this curriculum map, which is kind of all the tables that are on your left. And as I mentioned, the content is broken into three big areas: the food safety, the animal well-being, and life skills, but then by year. So as you kind of look at this, you see that there's some duplication. And that's because we hope when they come into this program as a junior or intermediate, that they're building some of those foundational skills that they can enhance and grow on over time. I also wanted to put up a map. So the way that our quality assurance year is kind of based on the 4-H year, where it starts in October and then goes to the following September 30th. So this was for the last year. We don't have the 2020 numbers yet because our program host is still finalizing all of that data. But in the 2018-2019 year, we reached over 92,000 youth across the country, 33 different organizations. You can see we've got quite a few instructors. Not every state is involved. You'll see out on the East Coast that we still just don't have any youth taking it there, but we do try to have a good partnership with states across the country and help them as they have needs. I just wanted to throw in some tables real quick. I won't bore you to death with all of this information, but the annual registrations by year do continue to increase. We know that obviously COVID changed things for us and how we deliver content, especially face-to-face this year, but early predictions are indicating that we're gonna see similar numbers that we had in the 2018-2019 year to our 2019-2020 year. So we'll just see how that does. We had some flash sales and other things like that to help. We also noticed that female youth are larger users of the program than male youth, and that does mirror what we see on a national 4-H enrollment level. So just an interesting, I don't want to throw out too many conclusions on why that might be, but as we just wrapped up we have 3 years of data, the 4th is coming in, we can start kind of putting together some of these trends and talking about what that might mean. As you may have suspected, those youth that are on a farm or ranch are the biggest users of the program, but we really saw a lot of growth in the city and town demographics. So it's kind of interesting that, you know, these youth are maybe involved in some sort of agriculture program, but maybe they're just interested in where their food comes from and they just want to learn more about it. So those are kind of interesting things to see. I'm not going to go through these posters, but we did have posters this summer at a couple of our extension conferences and in the presentations made available to you. If you're interested, you can look more closely at these, but it just talks about kind of how we're reporting the data. And as we start to get more data in from years of having the program in place, we can make some conclusions and start talking about what we see. So I want to jump a little bit to a new program that we just started. And it was actually through an APHIS grant, the National Animal Disease Preparedness and Response Program. And we were awarded this grant. We received notification. It's a multi-state team, so early 2020. And ultimately what this program objectives are just to increase knowledge of zoonotic disease risks, and then emergency responses to animal-related incidents, how to help mitigate infection and the spread of zoonotic disease. So what that means is we're interested in having all people who volunteer in some sort of fair or livestock exhibition and first responders. So if there is a disease outbreak or some sort of crisis event, hopefully by going through these modules, people will kind of have the knowledge about, you know, how to identify that help is even needed and how to start initiating that process. So to date, we've done, it's a 2-year grant period. So far our writing and content teams have met and created content. We're collaborating with some industry experts. The content has been peer reviewed and the blueprints for those modules are in work. What we've got on the horizon is the modules will be peer reviewed. And then the author and content teams will make changes, and then the modules will be published and made available to all of you or anyone who's interested. Right now, it's anticipated that all of these modules will be free. We also hope to develop some great resource materials and booklets for those who are first responders, those tabletop activities, and anything that will help them just understand what it means to potentially have to evacuate a fairgrounds or, lock up a barn because of a potential disease outbreak. So just thinking through some of those options. And we are exploring other grants that are out there. We know that there are a lot of other programs that kind of hit on the same thing. And this one is a little bit different because we specifically cover fairs and livestock exhibitions, and we're targeting the first responders as well. So we're trying to specifically target a couple of little niche areas. So stay tuned, more information will be coming when this is ready. Real quick, I just want to touch on another grant that we were part of, and it's the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network, or FARSAN. And so we're specifically the Western region, and the NIFA released this grant, and we were awarded it as part of the Western region. So there's 13 states and 4 territories, over $7 million over the next 3 years. And what we're doing is just starting some of the collaborations among Extension, Health and Safety Councils and Boards, the Agri-Ability programs, Farm Aid, and more. What we know, I don't know how many of you have seen American Farm Bureau just released some information on impacts of COVID on rural mental health, and I did put that link down there if you want to check it out. But we know obviously that agriculture is a stressful profession. There's a stigma to ask for help and to reach out, and as agriculturists, that's just something we're not very good at anyway. Rural areas are generally really problematic for services and resources. Those can be cost prohibitive, and then the Farm Bureau Federation did and specifically impact that COVID is impacting people's mental health and stress levels. So with all that being said, Nevada is behind a lot of other states involved in this project, and we're not really sure how or where to begin. So we're building just a small team and extension of people who are interested to focus on youth, adults, and families. And we are building a survey that will come out. You guys will probably see it in 2 waves. Farm and ranch producers will be the first one, and then farm and ranch workers will be the second one. And then eventually, maybe there's some outreach and training and resources as needed, but we're kind of just seeing how it goes here because this is new territory for us. So with that, I know I'm the last person before lunch. If you have any specific questions on any of these programs or some of the other exciting stuff we have in the hopper, feel free to reach out. And with that, let me stop sharing my screen.